I checked into room 237 alone, but I swear to God something else came in with me. I don't know how long I've been sitting here, looking at the blinking cursor. My hands are trembling like they did when I used to sneak smokes in high school. But this isn't withdrawal. This is fear, the kind that gets into your bones and you start to question if you're even real anymore. I'm writing this because I need to get someone, anyone, to believe me, or at least hear me out before the thing comes back. I haven't slept for days. I won't. Not after what I witnessed in that room. Room 237. Dear God, even typing that number on the keyboard makes my skin crawl. It started a few weeks ago. I was traveling for work. Boring tech sales gig, nothing glamorous. And my company booked me into this quaint little hotel on the outskirts of Denver. Nothing fancy, one of those older roadside places, trying to be classy with tacky chandeliers and fading wallpaper. But it was clean, cheap, and had decent Wi-Fi. That's all I cared about. The woman at the front desk was strange. Not creepy exactly, but like she'd seen some things she wasn't quite willing to talk about yet. You know how people get that look when they're trying really hard not to think about something? When she handed me the key card, she paused. Room 237? She whispered, her eyes flicking up to mine. You're only staying one night, right? I nodded, already annoyed. I was exhausted from the flight and just wanted to crash, shower, and maybe catch the late game. But instead of handing me the key, she hesitated again. If the lights flicker, don't get out of bed, she mumbled. What? She blinked, shook her head briefly, and handed me the card like everything was fine. Enjoy your stay. I should have checked out right then and there. I should have demanded another room, maybe another hotel, but I didn't because I was tired, because I didn't believe in ghost stories, because I'm a rational guy who sells cloud storage for a living and isn't afraid of spooky old ladies. I took the elevator up to the second floor. Room 237 was located down at the far end of a very cold corridor that was chillier than the rest of the building. I remember that, the temperature drop. Slight but perceptible. The air was thicker too, like walking through fog that you couldn't see. When I opened the door, I got slapped in the face with a metallic, musty smell, like blood that's been left out too long. I thought, maybe the cleaning crew missed something. The lights were dimmer in there than in the hallway, even though all of them were on. Like the bulbs were dying but hadn't quite died yet. Still, I was too tired to care. I dumped my bag onto the bed, kicked off my shoes, and sat down to check email. That's when the lights dimmed. Not once, they pulsed. On, off, in a weird rhythmic pattern. Not random, it seemed. Deliberate, like Morse code or a heartbeat. I froze. My first thought, power surge. My second, that woman's voice. If the lights flicker, don't leave the bed. I laughed it off. I'm not superstitious. I figured it was some old wiring issue and stood up to go and check the bathroom light. That's when I heard the breathing. It wasn't me. I swear to God, I was holding my breath. It was from the corner of the room furthest from me, behind the heavy floor-length curtains, slow, labored, wheezing breaths, like someone with a punctured lung. I stood there for a full minute, heart pounding, ears alert. Then, nothing. No breathing, no lights flickering, just the soft hum of the mini fridge and my own pulse pounding in my skull. I figured I'd imagined it, that I was tired, maybe even fallen asleep for a moment without realizing. But then, I saw the handprint. It was on the inside of the window, not a regular handprint either. It was smeared, elongated, and too broad. The fingers were incorrect. Too many knuckles, too narrow, and flattened against the glass as if it had melted into it. I recoiled and tripped over my duffel bag, landing on the floor. I stayed there for a few seconds, staring at that deformed handprint like it was some kind of ancient warning. Then the lights flickered again, and this time, something moved behind the curtain. It was not subtle. The fabric billowed as though there was someone behind it, tall, too tall, and breathing hard enough to cause the cloth to rise and fall. I reached for the room phone and hit the front desk button. No dial tone. I tried my cell, no signal. Not so much as a single bar. I went to the door, still locked. I was about to make a run for it when knock, knock, knock. 3 firm knocks from inside the closet near the TV. I didn't even look back. I dashed towards the hallway, but the door wouldn't open. The bolt was stuck as if it had melted into the frame. I pulled and turned and shoved my shoulder against it, but it wouldn't budge. It was as if the whole door frame had warped. Behind me, the curtain rustled. I turned around and I swear on every god that ever existed. There was a shape behind it now. I could discern the outline. Too tall, too lean. The head was almost touching the ceiling. It whispered something I couldn't understand. Not a voice exactly, more like static that hurt my teeth. Words that weren't words. A noise that felt like it was drilling into my brain through my ears. Then, the curtain fell, just dropped to the floor. There was nothing behind it, no window, just a blank wall. I ran to where the window would have been, placed my hands on the wall. It was solid, drywall, paint, no glass, no sill, no landscape. I stepped back, completely bewildered. This was not possible. I saw the window. I saw the handprint. I heard the breathing. Where the hell was I? The lights went out completely. I was engulfed in complete darkness, choking on the scent of mildew and rust. I sensed the presence before I heard it again. The breathing, directly behind me now. And something cold slid up the back of my neck, like an icicle along my spine. I screamed and crawled under the bed blindly, clinging to my phone as if it could save me. The screen flickered, then turned on. 1 bar. I opened the camera app, too afraid to use my own eyes, and extended it to the room through the space under the bed. What I saw on the screen made me stop breathing. There were feet, white, bare, cracked feet, a few feet away from the bed. And bit by bit, but inevitably, they turned towards me. The phone short-circuited and died. That was the first night. When the phone died, it didn't die in a normal way. The screen didn't fade or go black. It ripped. Just this violent burst of static, as if it was being shorted out from the inside. The thing in the room didn't stir. Not yet. I was frozen. I mean that literally. I couldn't make my body work. I was curled up under the bed, knees to chest, shaking so hard the metal frame was vibrating. I was yelling at myself to do something. Scream, move, fight. But all I could do was listen to the floor creak. 1 step, then another. It was circling the bed now, slow, purposeful, like it was dragging something. The kind of sound you'd hear if someone was pulling a bag of wet meat across old wood. Then, nothing. I held my breath until I couldn't anymore. Then I breathed, shallow, quiet gasps, trying not to make a sound, trying to be invisible. That's when I saw the fingers. They came down between the floorboards above me, not through the bed frame, through the floor. Like the wood wasn't even there. They were lengthy, too long, and they twitched like they weren't sure how to be human. They stopped inches from my face, hovering there. Then they crackled, a terrible crackling sound like dry, dead branches. And the whole bed lifted 2 inches off the floor. I screamed. I couldn't help it. Sheer survival took hold, and I rolled from underneath the bed and made a run for the bathroom. I locked the door and leaned against it, listening to the bed crash back down behind me. Boom, boom, boom. It kept lifting and slamming down the bed. like it was attempting to force me out. I did not dare to say anything. I did not even cry. I just stared at the bathroom mirror, waiting for something to show up behind me. It did not. Something far worse did. I looked down at the sink and etched into the porcelain with a scratching, not written but scratched, as if with fingernails, were 5 words. You're already part of it. I backed away slowly. My legs hit the bathtub. My heart was punching holes in my ribs. Then the bathroom light started to buzz. Not flicker, buzz, like it was getting ready to blow. I looked up, and I swear the bulb was swelling, like it was breathing. I shut my eyes, told myself it wasn't happening, just a breakdown, hallucinations, stress. But when I opened them again, the light had vanished, and there was something in the bathtub, not lying, sitting up straight, perfectly still. I don't know how I didn't notice it, or how it got there. It wasn't a person, not anymore. The thing had wax-like skin that had melted and solidified again. Face twisted in a scream, mouth too wide, eyes gone. Not ripped off, just absent. As though they never existed to begin with. It did not stir, it did not blink. But I knew, somehow, that it was looking at me. I ran. I didn't care if that thing in the room tore me in half. I was not going to remain in there with the tub corpse. I unlocked the bathroom door, ripped the front door open with a strength I did not know I had, and sprinted into the hallway. It was empty, dead silent, no voices, no music, no front desk, just a darkened hallway that appeared. Wrong. Office. I spun around to face my door, room 237, but the number had vanished, a blank plaque, and where the other doors had been were just walls, smooth, no openings, no handles, just expanses of worn wallpaper and quiet. I took off running flat out down the hall, hoping to find the lobby, the staircase, anything. That's when the lights began going out behind me, one by one, click, 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 following me through total darkness. I turned a corner, or I thought I did, but it led only to another hall, and another, and another. I was trapped in this duplicating maze, as if the hotel had changed, shifted. I was now inside its stomach, and it wasn't done digesting. Then I heard the music. Faint, like an old record player, scratchy, slow, and off. A warped rendition of "You Are My Sunshine." It was coming from the area of the next corner, and beneath it, the breathing again. I stopped running. I knew if I turned that corner, I'd see it. The thing that had been following me, whispering in static, warping the room. But I also knew I couldn't just stand still. So I held my breath, and I walked around the corner. There was a single door at the end of the hall, covered in red handprints. Not painted, smeared, dripping. It had no knob, just a keyhole, and something on the other side was scratching to get out. I ran in the other direction, screaming now. Real animal screams. But nobody answered. The hallway curved and wound, and then suddenly, bam! I ran face first into glass. I stumbled backward. I was looking into the lobby, but it was through glass. Like I was in a display case. The front desk was empty. The wall clock read 3:17 a.m. The same time the front desk woman told me I shouldn't leave bed. Then I saw her, not the front desk woman, myself, standing in the lobby, same clothes, same bag, holding a key card, looking at me. I smiled, then turned and walked away. I pounded on the glass, but no one turned around. It was like I no longer existed. That's when I realized the truth. The hotel didn't hold me captive in that room. It replaced me. I have no idea how long I stood there, on the wrong side of the glass, watching a version of myself stroll away like nothing had ever been wrong, like I'd never screamed or bled or begged to wake up. I must have fainted. When I came to, I was back in room 237, lying on the bed, fully clothed, still in my shoes, my bag next to me, zipped up, no blood, no bruises, no red door, no maze, just a quiet, dimly lit room with that same hint of sour, coppery smell in the air. It was as though it never happened, but I knew it had. I jumped up and checked the bathroom. No body in the tub, no note in the sink. I drew back the curtain, and this time there was a window, but it looked into nothing, just fog. Thick, gray fog as though someone had injected it into the glass itself. I tried the door. It opened easily. The hallway seemed normal. Lights steady. Doors shut. I walked down to the reception desk. She was the same woman as before. She looked at me like a stranger when I got there. "Can I help you?" she said, polite fake smile. I bent forward shaking. "You checked me in last night, room 237. She tilted her head. "Sir, we haven't used that room in years. It's been under renovation." No, I was there last night. You gave me the key." She clicked at her keyboard with slow, deliberate keystrokes. "There's no record of you in our system." I reached to pull out my pocket to show her the key card. It wasn't there. In its place was a small, square room tag, the type they hang from old-fashioned hotel keys. Torn, worn, the number 237 written in red ink. But the rear is what stopped me. It read, "Do not return." I didn't check out. I straight walked out the doors and into my rental vehicle. I didn't glance back. But that evening, in a Motel 6 100 miles along the road, my phone activated on its own. There was a single new video in my gallery. I hadn't recorded it. The thumbnail was black. I tapped it with shaking fingers. It ran for 40 seconds. Sound only at first. Breathing, the same wet, ragged wheeze I'd heard in the room. And then something on screen, a bed, my bed, from underneath, and me climbing onto it, drained, unaware. Then the feet reappeared, but this time, they weren't just standing there. They knelt down. The camera jerked, and for a split second, one frame, I saw his face, not a mask, not a monster. Me, but twisted, wrong, stretched, like someone had taken my face and stretched it over a mannequin. Its mouth opened, impossibly wide, and whispered, "You didn't leave. You were left." I deleted the video, burned the phone. But sometimes, and when it's very late, I still hear the breathing, not outside, in the walls, and in each hotel room that I occupy. Weeks afterward now even, I arrive to discover something waiting. Sometimes it's a shadow that hangs back a half second too long. Sometimes it's a voice whistling over the air vent. Sometimes I awaken with dust on my shoes and my bed 2 feet from the wall. I tried to go back. I drove the whole stretch of highway just outside Denver. Nothing. There is no hotel now. Maybe there never was. All I can tell you is this. Room 237 isn't a place. It's a door, and once it opens on you, it won't close. I thought I was free. I moved apartments. I switched jobs. New phone. I stopped staying in hotels altogether. Crashed on friends' couches. Hell, I even tried therapy. But every time I mentioned room 237, my therapist's face would just go blank. Like she couldn't hear those words. Like they were being filtered out. But the thing is, the dreams never stopped. Always the same. I'm back under the bed again, trapped, listening to the floorboards groan as something stalks around, sniffing, trying to find me. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it sings, sometimes it just waits. And every time, just before I wake up, it kneels down, and I see me staring back, not scared, smiling. 2 weeks ago, I lost it. I went and wrote about it. Not for attention, not for clicks. I just wanted someone anyone to say they'd had something similar occur. And then it got worse. People started messaging me. Most of them were trolls, naturally, but some of them shared things with me that made my blood run cold. Things like, I stayed in room 237 in 1998. I've never been the same since. Or, don't trust your reflection. That's how it starts. Or, there is no hotel, just the room. Then I got an email with no subject, no sender, just one sentence. Look behind you in the mirror. I closed the laptop immediately, but curiosity is poison, right? I stood up, went to the bathroom, switched on the light, and I looked. At first, nothing. And then, barely perceptible, there was another me. Not moving, just standing there, in the mirror, but not mimicking me, watching me. I don't know what happened next. I came to on the floor an hour later with a nosebleed. My phone was recording. The video, black screen, breathing, again. Except this time, the last few seconds were crystal clear. A voice, my voice, whispering, tell them, let them in. So that's what this is, my story, my warning. Because here's what I realized. The room doesn't chase you. It waits for you to remember it, like a brain parasite, waiting for the right combination of fear, memory, and attention to open the door again. And by listening to this, by hearing this story, you've already knocked. If you've ever woken up in a room you don't remember booking, if you've ever woken up and the bed wasn't where you left it, comment please. I have to know I'm not alone. And if I'm not here after this, don't come looking. It'll mean the room got its way back in, and it's coming for you next.